Today we've got a 380 accuracy battle. We're going to put the High Point 380 up against a Glock 380. Which one's going to come out on top? Let's find out. What's happening, crew? It's Chris with CloverTac, and welcome back to the channel. It's a beautiful but hot day out here on the range, and just want to remind everybody that on the range we have to deal with the birds and the bugs and the wind and the loud neighbors and the traffic and the fact that my microphone does not always pick up the muzzle report. So with that said, today we are going to put a High Point 380 up against a Glock 380 in an accuracy battle and see who comes out on top. Before we do that, I want to ask you guys out there, which one do you think is going to win this accuracy battle? Hit me up in the comments below and pick the winner. Now we're going to be doing this accuracy battle with some Blazer 95 grain FMJ ammunition. And why this ammunition? Well, because one, I don't have an ammo sponsor. Number two, ammo's a little bit hard to come by. And three, this is what I could find. Now let's run a few rounds through the chronograph to get some preliminary data, and we'll start out with the Glock 42. $893, $783, $874, $870, and $874. And now let's get a few rounds through the chronograph with the High Point 380. $951, $961, $936, $963, and $916. Now with chrono testing done, I've got all that data compiled. I've put it into a chart. I'm going to throw that up on the screen now. If you need a little more time with this chart, well, by all means, go ahead, just hit that pause button and check everything out. Well, we find a few things in this data that's interesting. First of all, we can see right away that ammunition and the consistency of ammunition does come into play a little bit here, because with both 5-round groups on the High Point as well as the Glock, we had what I would call an underpowered load. But since we had one of those on both the Glock and the High Point, it's kind of a wash there. Not going to worry about that too much. If we look further, we see that the High Point averages about 100 feet a second faster than the Glock on the average velocities. And you may ask why that is, and I think that it may have something to do with the weight of the slide or the recoil springs. Obviously, there's more slide mass with the High Point than with the Glock, and we know that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the action is going to be the charge going off, the projectile going down the barrel. The reaction will be that it pushes that slide back. And if there's more mass in that slide, then that energy has to go somewhere. So we've got a little more energy going into the barrel, pushing that projectile out the barrel and downrange. I think that might account a lot for the deviation, for the difference rather in velocity between the Glock and the High Point. And the last thing we're going to look at here, which is really the important thing when it comes to accuracy, is the deviation. What is the difference between the lowest speed and the highest speed we got through the chrono? And the more consistent, the smaller that number is, typically the more accurate that ammo or that firearm is going to be. And in this case, at least by the numbers, the High Point seems to have the lead. But sometimes numbers are just numbers, and it takes a little more realistic test in order to check for accuracy. So let's get on the bench, let's set up the redneck rest, and let's put some rounds downrange on a target. So now let's put some rounds on target, starting with the Glock 42. As always, safety first, got my eyes on and put my ears in, and we'll get started. And we'll continue putting rounds down range with the High Point 380. Let's go down range and take a look at the target. So here we are down range, taking a look at the target. We got the 5 shots from the Glock on the left, 5 shots from the High Point on the right. And forgot to mention this earlier, but yes, we were shooting at a distance of 50 feet. And I've got 3 shots almost in the same exact hole with the Glock 42 there on the left. And you can see the shots are strung out very clearly, all 5 shots from left to right with a High Point on the right. Now, why is that? You know what? I think that potentially a big issue with that High Point is going to be the trigger. Compared to the Glock 42, the trigger is absolutely horrendous. It's really hard to get a consistent trigger pull on that thing. That being said, if you was to take those shots and transpose that group into the center mass on a silhouette target, hey, that would still be 5 pretty good hits. So even though we had a clear winner in the accuracy battle between the Glock and the High Point in 380 auto, at the end of the day, the decision on which one is going to work best for you is going to be, of course, your decision. Because a lot of people out there simply can't afford the Glock. And I think that either way, you're going to get a pretty good handgun. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Till next time, don't forget to chain fire freedom.